I believe you can have it all and you do not have to struggle to get it. If life feels hard, your tasks seem impossible, or you just don't like the options laid out before you, I promise you there is a better way. My name is Melanie McSally, your Better Way architect, and I welcome you to the WyzeCast Show. Today's guest is Mitra Cummins, who uses her unique gifts and wisdom to help people communicate and live with intention. She's here today to teach us about ancient Hawaiian healing practices and how we might use them to find our better way. So welcome, Mitra.
Thank you for having me, Melanie. It's glad to be here.
Oh, I'm excited. This is something completely new to me, and I always love, I have lots of curiosity, so I love learning something new, and I love expanding my horizon and seeing, what's out there and what I can use to help me live the life of my dreams and therefore help others too.
Absolutely. That's what we're all here for at the end of the day, right? That
Yeah.
connectedness.
Yeah. So normally I just dive right in and start talking about the modality in these episodes. Um, but in our last episode, we actually had somebody who was neurodivergent. And I know that you have a specialty and a background and a lot of wisdom around neurodivergence. And so I'd love to start with your story, and then we can segue into the modality and how you use it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, everybody's story is so transformational at the end of the day. And I'm just grateful that I have a story to share. When I was just fresh out of college, I decided, you know what? A friend is working with neurodiverse kids and families. I'm going to just hop in and help out. Started with after school programs, started with one on ones, going in home and in school. And there was a huge deep dive that the program director and I was really following along and supporting when it comes to social, emotional, executive functioning, and behavioral support. And something we gathered within our own studies and just continuing forward within the programs that we were developing together, as well as with the owner and my now husband, who came on and started helping out too. We all just started noticing a connectedness of consciousness coming in. What I mean by that is the people that were coming in were wanting more. They were wanting more than just the typical, okay, help my kid. The parents were going, how do I really integrate this at home? And so the program was there to help out. This was a small company in San Diego that's expanded so much since COVID. And during COVID times, that's when my husband and I decided to branch off and really support just the parents. In 2017, that's when my own personal growth journey really got kick started and going. Before that, it was, personal growth of college, education, but really when I deep dive into where my heart and my mind really started connecting was in 2017. I attended a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner training with Empowerment Inc., Dr. Matt James, and the team. And when I sat in the room, I was sitting there and going through the modality of neurolinguistic programming, and I was going through the modality. They went through a whole segment about Huna and the ancient Hawaiian lineage, as well as Ho'oponopono. It's an ancient Hawaiian forgiveness practice. And I'm sitting in the room going, I don't really know who I need to forgive, but okay, I guess I'll go through this process. And my dad shows up on the stage because you construct a stage in your mind. You go through it. I forgive you. Please forgive me. It's different than the Western thinking of the process. Joe Vitale has a process of a prayer, and he modeled that off of Morrnah Simeona's Ho'oponopono ancient Hawaiian practice. So just know if you're familiar with the prayer, this one is a different process that they go through at this training with Dr. Matt and his team. And so I'm going through the process and I'm feeling a shift in energy inside of me. And I'm going, whoa, what is that? I've gone through therapy my entire life. And I have worked on my relationship with my father, who had passed at the time when I was going through Ho'oponopono. So I'm sitting there going, I don't feel like I have anything I really need to forgive. But I'm going through it and going, I guess I was holding on to something I didn't know was there. And it planted this seed in my mind of change can happen in an instant. And even if you're not sure, there are subconscious beliefs and programming that are really spiraling that can happen. So I go through their trainings. I go through their master practitioner training. I start learning about Huna starting 2020, 2021. And I'm sitting in the room. I'm working with the company at the time, and I'm sitting in the room and noticing that I just have an underlying anger that had never really fully come to the surface. I remember in high school, I had written in my theater class a poem about not always being just a smiling face. That inside there was this person that was ready to just come out and share with the world their feelings that I had just pushed down for so long. And the more you push down, it's like a beach ball that you push underwater. It was just coming up and hitting me with the face. And what Dr. Matt and his team explain when emotions are coming up, it's a time for celebration. And it's a time because your subconscious is telling you you're ready to navigate and deal with it. And that's what I was noticing. There was this immense amount of anger coming out of me and through me that I knew it was time to let it go. And so I was going through the trainings and going, okay, here we go, universe, let's let this go. And little parts of me that I had just had to navigate more and more and go, okay, that's no longer in me, but I still have this like trajectory. Why is this stomach coming up? And losing momentum on that and creating momentum on new strategies really became into play after taking and going through Huna and this ancient Hawaiian forgiveness, as well as just the lineage itself, because there's a lot of beauty in the lineage and the modalities. And I know we'll dive into that too. And I can say now wholeheartedly, I experience anger more in the moment than past baggage that's held me back. Now, doesn't mean I don't have any baggage ever. Again, new experiences like having my kids have brought up new baggage that come up. For example, before having kids, I had a fear of being like my parents and my father specifically, and I took care of that before having kids. And then when I had kids, a new version of that came up, a different angle of it came up. And I said, okay, I know I can navigate this. I know what to do to navigate this. So I'm just so grateful that I can be here and share that if there's something you're holding on to, there's no reason that you can't let it go because we can naturally do it. Just modalities like this, and I know other modalities, Melanie, that you've spoken about and talked to, help create a conscious version of this release.
Oh, that's awesome. And I can relate because in the very first personal growth seminar that I actually, attended rather than just doing it on your own, um, it was 3 days and, I spent the first 2 days crying and releasing and doing all the things. And we got to the third day and we did this parent exercise. And I was like, oh, I got this one in the bag because my parents are great and I had a happy childhood, and like in comparison to um the things that you hear and see in the world with parent-child relationships, I felt like I had a really good upbringing and I was really blessed. And so I was like, this is going to be my one process where I don't cry. you know? And I had a rape when I was young, when I was in, my early teens. And I was a latchkey child, which just means that when you get home from school, your parents aren't there, and you have to open your own door. And it happened when I was home alone. And what came up in this process, because I never blamed them for that, but what came up in the process was that your parents protect you, and I in
Mhm.
this they weren't there, and
Right.
and so I can relate, and I can relate on the level of not blaming them, but somehow there was an inner child in there that was like, but wait a minute, you weren't there when I needed you, and having to
Mm,
feel that, and not really knowing that was there.
exactly. And I've heard, you're not the first story I've heard of not realizing the seed that was planted in there until it comes up. So it was a beautiful example. And thank you so much for sharing also like your experience too, because I can tell you've come a long way with your journey on navigating that because that's a life journey to really create a consciousness to and go, how do I learn from something that someone harmed me? Right? What? So the Hawaiians believe if there's something to navigate, the lesson that comes up from it is when you can let go of the negative emotions or the limiting beliefs that were installed from that memory or from that experience. And when that seed came up with your parents, what a beautiful gift for yourself, really, and your relationship with them too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When it came up for me, I was just like, huh, I didn't know that was there. But it came up in such a beautiful setting that, was easy enough. Well, it wasn't easy. I'm not going to go there, but it was, it was the
You have the
perfect,
support.
yeah, it was the
Yes.
perfect setting to deal with it. So in my last episode, we talked about from the neurodivergence perspective of of handling the world and being empowered with knowing how to navigate situations that might feel overwhelming or triggering or what have you. What I would like to know because of your work, and I know this is a little off topic from the modality, but maybe there's relationships there I'm not aware of, is from the outsider's perspective. So you help the parents and the support system. So what do you think are the because I like to really support anyone who's marginalized, and I feel like marginalized people are anyone that's misunderstood, really.
Mhm.
And so, what is something you would like like people to know so that the world in general could be more supportive of neurodivergent folks, children, or
Yeah, in general,
yeah,
neurodiverse families. I think one of the most important things is that we are all different, neurodiverse, neurotypical, you name it. We're all different. We all have special gifts. And noticing each person holding on to their gifts and illuminating from there. Because I think what can happen when someone hears, I've worked with a lot of families navigating the initial diagnosis and this repressed sadness or fear that can come up of my kid has X and I caused this, or how do I navigate this? And then the perception of others around the family of, oh, they have that, so it means they're allowed to have these behaviors or these things. Sure, you're going to have to adjust based off of how to best support the kid, the family. Absolutely. There are kids with autism may have more sensory overload experiences, and you may have to navigate that differently than a kid with ADHD and a kid with dyslexia or anxiety. So, yes, there are approaches and there are ways to help them learn and expand and become more comfortable in their experiences, and also highlighting what are the positives and what are the gifts of that person, not the diagnosis, not the neurodiverse aspects, but that person and who they are in their soul. And that can get so lost. I remember when I was working in social skills groups and summer camps, I was running them. I was creating the whole thing. And I was going in and I ran them. And there was this one kid that came in. He was a teenager and he was addicted to video games. And he would steal his parents' credit cards and charge things so that he could keep playing on the video games. And I just started asking him questions like what he's interested in and just what he enjoyed doing within video games. And one day he randomly shares with me, he loves video games. He really liked the subject history, and he wanted to make a history game so that kids could learn and find history. It's fun. I was like, that is so freaking cool that he saw that. And I was explaining it to his parents, and this was before I was doing my family and parent support. And his parents were already so upset about video games that they couldn't hear the gift that video games actually brought him, is this idea and trajectory of something he could do in a positive way. And it was really hard to hear that. And because I'm seeing the gift, and all the other coaches I'm working with are seeing this beautiful gift that he wants to bring to the world with his own joy and passion. And his parents couldn't see it. So we held it for him. I'm not sure where he's at now, if he did it or if he's on that path at this point. but I hold that in my heart for him as much as I can because I know that that would make a huge impact for families, for any kid that doesn't like history. That's just one example of many that I have. And just finding that opportunity to see them.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, that's so interesting because I feel like there's so many parallels from this story of misunderstood, of the intentions behind somebody's behavior, and like in the workforce, if somebody's not performing and just thinking they're a bad employee rather than looking at, if the skills align or if there's something underneath there. Um, and the same thing of like, maybe the video games are actually giving him safe, supported social interaction or an opportunity for learning or an opportunity for inspiration or belongingness or understanding or, there's all sorts of different things. So I love that story and that share. Thank you.
Yeah. And it connects back to there's a phrase that in NLP about just understanding people. And it's that people are not their behaviors. And I had that belief already in me when I was started working with kids. And when I heard that, I go, wow, that's actually really powerful way of saying it. People are not the behaviors. You can change the behavior, but you can't change the person, like who they are in their core. That's what I meant by their gifts, because that's who they are in their core. And I was working around behaviors, I was working around the things that, a kid cussing out in classrooms or throwing pens. That's a behavior. That's not who they are.
Hmm.
And finding the light within that through, I'm living in tantrum toddler moments right now between 2.5 and a 3 year old. She's almost 3 with my own. And I have to remind myself this is just her being developmentally appropriate. And that's where she's at right now. And that's okay. And I have to bring myself back and go, okay, she'll learn. Just keep riding the waves sometimes because who she is in her heart is such a beautiful light.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, So I know that the ancient Hawaiian practices, um, are sort of like rooted in healing and compassion. And my purpose in life is to pour more compassion into the world. So how can people use these Hawaiian practices to have more compassion for themselves and others?
Well, I'd first go into what it is because I think that'll be help explain how to work with it and navigate it. So again, I learned this from Kumu Matt, Dr. Matt James, as well as his team, other Kumus that he's initiated into the lineage, as well as the empowerment team. And the generation, he used to say that it was 28 generations unbroken. But during the last few years, he went back in his manuscript because he has all the Hawaiian stories were spoken. Everything was that was documented. It was written out, but it was all in Hawaiian. It was he found it hard to read initially, and he isn't native Hawaiian, but he grew up in Hawaii, and he got this manuscript from the Bray family. Actually, forgive me, his dad got the manuscript from the Bray family, and they had they knew it would be passed down to this other family, but they didn't know who. So the lineage doesn't have to be within the same family. It was passed down from the Bray family to the James family. And this lineage when he finally went back, Dr. Matt, all the way back to the beginning, it was 121 generations unbroken, which it's really amazing to think how many generations that is further back more and more. And when he was explaining this to many of the teachers, I was grateful I could sit in the room and hear this. And I'm pregnant with my daughter at the time when he's telling me this, and I'm reading about all of the generations. And I tear up because there are some names I don't know who they are. I don't know them in my consciousness, but I felt like I knew them somehow. And just hearing their names, that their existence and their purpose is continuing to share. is happening still. So Huna itself, it's a modern label for healing. And Huna in it of itself is means secret. So from the modern label, it means secret. But beneath the surface, it means a hidden wisdom. And if we were to really call the lineage that I'm connected into, it's ho'omana. Ho'o is to make, mana is life force energy. And so the lineage really is to make life force energy, ho'omana. And the intention of the lineage is to spread light and clear away any baggage or any energy that is meant to come back to the light. And I already mentioned like who was connected into it. And I'm grateful our Kumu and past Kumus have brought in other hula master, Uncle George, and other hula masters, as well as other lineages. So, for example, I mentioned Ho'oponopono in the beginning of this. That is an ancient Hawaiian forgiveness process. It isn't rooted from our lineage, however, they teach it. So it's not like Huna is one lineage. It's actually a connection of several lineages into it because the lineage holds symbols and aspects to healing. And they pull from other lineages. Like the last Huna, there's several levels like just to learn and ways to learn it. The last Huna they learned about feng shui and integrated aspects of feng shui into because it's all energy. And so the intention of the purpose of it is to connect back with your purpose, connect back with your light, and really align your mind, body, and spirit into one. And so your question about connecting back to compassion and ancient Hawaiian practices. When I was living in Hawaii, this was a few years ago, I was already in the program of Huna and the practices. And some people have, when you go to Hawaii, if I was to go up and say, oh, yeah, I know Huna, I know this ancient Hawaiian practice, that perception from natives can be, but you're not Hawaiian, which I agree. I am not Hawaiian at all. So, but I am a lama. I cherish these practices because they have helped me so much in my path and helped so many people I've connected with. So just knowing when you go to Hawaii, you respect the land, you respect the people that are there. And something I really learned was sitting and just having a conversation with people and being very present. Because in this day and age, you go get a coffee from a coffee shop. You walk in, hi, how are you? Okay, good. I want this, and this, great. And then you grab your coffee and you leave. When we're in Hawaii, we sit down. How are you? We talk story. I meet people and we're just sitting and having a conversation for hours until time's up. Got to move on to the next thing. And that's a different lifestyle. And it's a lifestyle we bring as much into our day to day here as possible in a day to day of go, 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 go. How can you really be present with you, be present with where you are and who you're connecting with too? Getting off the phone, putting that to the side, and really being here like we are now.
Nice. And I heard connection and curiosity in addition to being present. So, like being present with somebody, but then also like, just leaning into that connection and getting curious.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what else are we doing here other than to connect with others and continuing to learn and expand our own consciousness, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And to have joy. Let's just add
Yes,
that.
I agree completely.
I really want to ask some questions about purpose, but before we do that, just so I don't forget, you mentioned 129 years of Unbroken. What does that mean exactly? Because I could intuit what that meant, but I want to ask. I want to give you
Mhm.
a chance.
So it was 121 generations unbroken. That means that the lineage was passed down from generation to generation. So the next generation from Kumumat goes to his kids because they are on the path and in the program within the Huna programs. And one of his sons is teaching. So they have been doing this since they were little kids. And that is definitely who I assume he's passing the lineage on to next, the entire lineage. So he's initiated Kumus into it. And there are people that spread the wisdom and spread the knowledge. And the person that's going to hold and carry the lineage is the generations that it's passed down to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I would say like I would ask like and say at the same time is why it matters is the level of depth in awareness and knowledge. Is that accurate?
I would say that, and that the lineage has never been broken necessarily. It's never been completely halted. So there have been generations that held the lineage and kept it to pass to someone else to spread it. So there have been times where someone held it and said, "I am the keeper of this information. I'm not someone to spread the information." However, they pass it to the next person, and that person's the person that's sharing it. Because especially in ancient Hawaiian times, there were times where chanting or hula wasn't okay. And once Westerners came in, that's when Huna became a secret. That's when this hidden wisdom was repressed, really. And the depth of this information became more important to spread, but was also told, don't do it because it is a secret. It is something that we are meant to conceal at this time because the Westerners will take it and do something different or completely repress it or break the lineage. So there were times where it's not that the lineage was cut or stopped, it was just held so that it could be passed to the next person at the right time in the right place, just like the Bray family passed it to the James family.
So a protection of sorts and a awareness of what's best for it in this present moment whenever that present moment is, and sometimes that requires protection. Is that, am I understanding?
Yeah, protection is the best way to explain it. Hawaiians didn't believe in protection per se, but just more so holding it in a space of sacredness.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you talked about uh using this modality to help with path and purpose.
Mm.
So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know a lot of people seek modalities or are just seeking in general what their purpose in life is. Um, so yeah, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I actually have a personal story about this because when I was really diving into my own purpose, I knew aspects of it, but I also felt very limited in my aspects of who I was at that time. I was sitting in a space of shifting from one career to another, and I felt like I was very clear and having amazing transitions and shifts. However, there was still this pull inside of me going, there's something more. There's something you're holding on to that's got to be gone to keep the momentum. So I connected with a coach, someone that has connected with their spirituality longer than I had at the time, someone that I very much trusted it. And I said, okay, I need you to guide me through and help me break through this. So we actually went through a session, which myself and other coaches in this modality called breakthrough session. It's where we bring up all the baggage in an area of life. So for me, it was my spirituality and my purpose. Bring up all the baggage, any stories, any beliefs, any negative emotions. And then a session later, if it's split up or in the same session, we clear it all out utilizing either Huna modalities or neurolinguistic programming modalities or both. And then once it was cleared out, one of the questions there was, what is your purpose? Because that's what we were working on. And we had to set a goal because there's 4 things you need to do to create lasting change. The first thing is to release your baggage. So we did that in that session. The second thing was to set a goal. So setting a goal of, what is your purpose and connecting with that and connecting with your purpose. So for me, I know my purpose is to spread the light in family, my personal family, the families I work with, the people that have family. I assume everyone in some way, shape, or form, whether it's blood or friendship, community, has family. So for me, I had to expand from my own nugget of family and let go of uh, my belief at the time. See, I'm trying to search for what the belief was. I don't have a memory of it because when you let go of your beliefs, it's really hard to find them again, which is a good thing because you don't necessarily want to hold on to them. But if I remember correctly, it was along the lines of a I blamed my birth and my family on me having to have this purpose or something like that, me having to be of the light. And it felt like a chore versus a choice, something along those lines. I don't remember the details of it anymore. And once I set my goal, set my intentions, that was the second thing, was setting my goal. The third thing was to take action around that goal. So I was taking action. I was like, okay, where in my life am I not standing in my light? Got it. Let's connect into that, focusing on that. So the fourth thing is maintaining a positive intention and focus on your goal. And you need all four to do this and to really create lasting change. So there's been times where I love what Kumumat says, and I'm going to repeat it because I love it so much. And most people hope that it's baggage when they work with us because it can be harder to set the goal and maintain the focus and do the actions like going to the gym as one. You can't just go to the gym once and all of a sudden the weight is gone. When people go through breakthroughs with this, they come in, they release the baggage, but then they're still whatever weight they are. They still can't lift, whatever their goal is. They still got to set the goal, take the action, going to the gym or going to the workout class or doing the walks or whatever that is for this person, and then maintaining that positive action and intention into it. Purposeful is another way of thinking about it. So within purpose and connecting with that and Huna itself, people come in to the program, into the lineage, because they want to connect with who they are on a deeper level. I know a lot of people have a religious background too. There are people from the lineage that Kumumat has connected with. So there was a hula master that came in, and one of Kumumat's mentors, Uncle George Naope, and he was a hula master. And he had his own beliefs, and he was Christian, but he also connected with Huna and this lineage in some way, shape, or form. And so people have come in, and I know that there's my friend who's Native Alaskan. And she's worked with the company too, and she said it connected. This lineage has helped her connect more with her lineage in Alaska, and really knowing herself on a deeper level. It's just another way of connecting with your God and your source. There's a lot of people in Hawaii that are actually Mormon. I didn't know that until I moved there, but I met a lot of Mormons there, and I learned a lot more about that religion. And I was like, this is really freaking cool. And the only reason I feel like I can say that now is because I'm more connected with myself on a deeper level. So it's a way of really empowering you to keep connecting with your purpose, your source, your God, and who you are at its core.
Awesome. And so, like, so if somebody came to you and said, I want to work with you using ancient Hawaiian practices, what would that look like? In specific, like to find their purpose, let's say.
Yeah, similar to what I went through when I wanted to connect with my purpose. I'd go through a session where we deep dive on everything coming up for them around their purpose. We'd go through release work, and we'd take care of that first requisite for change, long lasting chain of releasing baggage. Then we go into some coaching. Let's set your goal. We do goal setting around who they're meant to be and who they are, things you want to do, and all the things you want to have. So 3 different types of goals that we do within this coaching. And then in the coaching, it's all around action. What actions are you taking, and continuing to maintain their focus? And that's where the really coaching comes in, is how to maintain that focus and that purposeful action.
So what if somebody is sort of like in a transition phase in their life? They felt like they worked their career, and they but they know that they're here for something more, and they just don't know what that is. So, maybe they're not in a place where they're like, I have all these things I want to do, but instead they're like, I've done all the things I wanted to do. Now I want to live with purpose. What would that look like?
The same thing I said. And the reason is because the first goal we set is who do you want to be? We don't do the doing or the having goals first. We do the being goal. Who do you want to be? Then that derives the what do you want to do to be that? And then what do you need to have to be that? And everything stems from their beingness. The Huna and where I learned from. And I keep saying it because I want to make sure you all know this is where the information comes from. They call it an avatar. It's like what is your ideal avatar of who you are in your core, in your beingness, and then who do you see yourself being? So, for example, that goal for me before I became a mother, I wrote in being a mom because I knew I wanted to be a mom. So that was already in there of who I want to be in 10 years from now. And so, now I could look at it and go, okay, it's not really my choice to be a grandmother. And that could be something I could add in when the time feels right. And it's something I see, okay, maybe my kids would be interested in it, aspects of me as a grandmother. But I have myself as a coach, I have myself in my relationship, who I am in my career, who I am in my spirituality practice. My avatar is all areas. And when you get started, focusing on one makes it easier. But mine is all about my life and who I am.
Nice, nice. And so, how do people get in touch with you if they want to work with you?
So just go on my website, myintrospectivesolution.com. You can see more deep dives. It talks a lot about parenting, and I'm always happy to connect with people because if I'm not the right person, I might know someone that will. So feel free to just connect with me because I have a huge community between the Huna practice, neurolinguistic programming, and many others. I love networking and talking with people like Melanie. So if I'm not the right person, I know someone.
Okay, so we've been talking about ancient Hawaiian practices and you've woven in NLP in there. So what are some other modalities that you use and intertwine in your coaching and work?
One I haven't mentioned that I use all the time within the breakthrough sessions and release work is mental and emotional release. There is a book, Mental and Emotional Release by Dr. Matt James and Tris Thorpe. Look it up. It's all of the research around the studies that they've done around mental and emotional release working. And the reason it works is because you fully let go of any beliefs and negative emotions. And that's where the breakthrough really becomes into play about letting go of your baggage. There is one of the studies I find really fascinating is a study around depression, and it's in the book. And you can also look up the research if you love research. I'm not one of those people, but I loved it from the book. I will read the synopsis of the research so I understand it and I can speak it. But they did a study on depression, and they compared people doing cognitive behavioral therapy and mental and emotional release. It was about 8 sessions each. 70% had success within cognitive behavioral therapy. So that was 30% relapsed into depression, but 70% had success. That's a really high and really amazing process and therapy. Mental emotional release, there was 100% success rate. No one relapsed from the process. And it was, I believe it was a 3-year gap between the study and just checking in with people. It was about 3 years. So that is expansive to say that 100% success rate, no one got back into a chronic depressive state. So knowing that information and knowing like something like depression can be navigated with the right person. So this was with a doctor of psychology that did this study and his clinic in the heads up clinic in Vegas, just that's in Nevada. So just knowing that there are therapists that can do things like this. Myself, chronic depression is not my scope of practice. However, I have worked with people that work with therapists and I can connect with them and be able to either do the release work with them as long as they are seeing a therapist, or I connect them with a therapist that has this modality and is able to rock and roll with it. Because right tool for the right thing, but also the right person for it. Because it would be really important and ecological to make sure that anyone that has more of a chronic space is getting the right support.
Yeah. And do you often pair your work with therapeutic work. I was thinking of the
Yes,
right word for that.
collaboration is amazing. And I think it's so important to collaborate with any other professionals that any of my clients or potential clients is working with. So, yes, absolutely. I'm 100% collaborating. I'm sharing this modality with them. I'm like, hey, if there's anything that's standing in the way, let's work together because they want to let this go. And I want to take them on that as long as we're both on the same page on what this is going to do because
Yeah.
it's going to be long lasting change.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so let's go back to ancient Hawaiian practices for a bit. You talked a little bit about religion, which sparked in me. Is it these practices, are they considered a form of spirituality or religion?
It's not a religion. It is more of a aspect of connecting with your path. So that's what I was trying to say earlier. So please forgive me if I wasn't clear. It is a spiritual practice, and that doesn't mean it's a religion. Yes, there are chants. Yes, there are connections to uh, gods is the wrong word, but just beings is the right way of saying it. And from the standpoint of religion and its depths of it, this is not a religion, but it's a way to help you connect further with your religion.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. I was raised Catholic, but nowadays I say I'm spiritual with a hard pass at religion. So with all
I,
their
I I
doctrine.
found a great found of like love for religion at this point. Like before, I was very anti, grew up going to Catholic school and church, and was very much wanted to go down that Catholic route because that was the norm I was around. And I'm grateful my mom and our priest there said, no, you don't need to be doing this path if this isn't something you can articulate why. And I couldn't. I just said because everyone else is doing it. So I was actually really grateful that the priest said, no, you cannot take communion. You cannot, go through this process unless you show us why you want it. And I have a found appreciation for religion, just going into a space of hearing about other people's connection with religion and what have they've gotten out of it. And I think it's because I've let go of so much of my own past experiences around it that I can come in and be very neutral and clear and intentional with hearing about it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a deep love for community and belonging and togetherness and understanding for people wanting to know that there's something more and all the things. And for me, that's spirituality. And I have a thing about rules. And also I have a thing about explicits. So, for me, there are aspects to religion, different religions that I resonate with, but I haven't found one to date. And it's not because I'm not looking, but I haven't found one to date where I agree with everything. And so I'm more of a like, religions are a buffet and I pick and choose what resonates with me. But that
That's really
works.
cool.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
works for me. That doesn't work for everybody, but that's fine.
Hmm.
We live in a world of choice. So,
Hmm. Exactly.
okay, awesome. Is there anything else that you really wish for people to know about this modality, about your work?
I think just that if it resonates with you, contact me or go look up Empowerment Inc. and get to an event. Because if there's any inkling of, huh, I found that interesting, I want to know more, then do something with it. Take action on that.
So, so tell us about what an event is, just to give people some context if, if you, because you said come to an event. So let's just hear like what's a typical event like?
Um, well, if it's one of my events, it just depends on what I'm offering. If it's a Huna modality or more about parenting specific, I have various aspects. If you're going to Empowerment Inc., you look up one of their events. It could be a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner training. You could go straight into Huna and go to Hawaii or go to, I think they run one in San Diego too. Um, and if those don't work, connect with the team there and they might be able to help you and connect with some of the other kumus, because there's people, kumus are teachers. Please forgive me if I haven't said that. Just there are teachers and kumus all around our world that are doing different workshops. So getting to an event that focuses on teaching it in a way, because there are anti-Huna groups out there. So if you look up Huna, there's going to be anti-groups you see. There's going to be probably some people that may not be holding a lineage in a sacred space like how Kumumat does. So just know who you're learning from for any modality, know where it's coming from, know who's passing it down and where it's coming from. Because if you want to learn something, go to the source. Don't go to YouTube and learn about it, because YouTube, like I've heard about people learning things like sound bowls off of YouTube, and then it opens up some weird energetic things that we've had people come to the workshops and need just clean up from. So just know where you're learning from and know where you're getting the information in general when it comes to any energetic practice. Huna is just one example.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that, because it just gives people an awareness of the invitation to an event, what those kinds of events are. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing.
absolutely.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom and being here today and being the light and pouring compassion into the world, because it needs it. And so I appreciate the fact that you're doing it. Thank you.
Thank you for holding the space.
Yeah. Yeah. And you as well for holding the space. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you all. If you're still here with us, thank you for sticking with us to the end. If anything resonated with you, please, you know what I always say, technology loves love as well, and we'll pay it forward. And so for anyone who needs Mitra, this video will get in front of them, and they'll be able to connect with her. So thank you. Please do like, share, hype, comment, do all the things if any of this resonated with you, so it will get paid forward. And remember, if life feels hard, your tasks seem impossible, or you just don't like your options laid out before you, there is always a better way. My name is Melanie McSally, and I will see you on